air rights easement?
Well, this item, unfortunately, was, we've talked about the air right part of it. The home course approached the council and gave them a heads up on a safety issue that we've been working with them on. I gave you some background in the cover that both the SEPA decision for First Park Northwest and for the home course, we had concerns about golf balls that were flying into what will be South Loop Road, and also the other direction across the cart path towards Fort Lake. So they asked the city for permission to use a very small sliver of the Fort Lake property to fly golf balls over it. And really, the only time that comes into play is during a tournament, because and they've reconstructed the holes now, and I've been out there and I've looked at it, and it's what now I think is the dynamite tees, which are the furthest back, and several council members and myself will never play off those tees, I can tell you that for sure. But yeah, trust me. They have a Pacific Northwest Golf Association tournament in July, so they were very eager to get that done, and then this will put them in play for the U.S. Amateur Championship next year. That's all good and fine, except it required taking some trees out, and in my view, I went out in the field and looked, and not too many. And the trees, to give you an example, were about, the majority were about 7 inches at the butt, and what we'd call reprod. I think the largest was about 11, and I thought probably 4 should come out. And lo and behold, at the last council meeting, Andy Eastep said, well, they knocked some trees down, clear cut an area, and they took out 9. So that was quite a surprise, and I went out in the field and I looked at that, and that was in advance of getting a tree removal permit. I addressed that subject in the cover. Technically they're not landmark trees. They're really not protected by our code, but what we have done when somebody wants to remove a tree in DuPont is we've used that as a documentation tool, and that didn't happen until after the fact. I have a picture I can show you. It really is a fairly small wedge. I mean, most of those trees would be what we'd call Christmas trees, but there were about 3 that were a little bit larger. Nevertheless, I've documented it. I've talked to the superintendent of the golf course, who pleads confusion, and I've talked to John Bodenhammer, who expresses his apologies. They have what they need in terms of the alignment for those dynamite tees. I still think the air rights easement is a good idea. It really only allows them to fly golf balls over the property. They're not really supposed to go on the property. What you have the agreement and you have the easement. They're only really going to use a wedge of that easement. It has the property description. I'd recommend that we go ahead and do that. There is one piece that remains, and that is we have to ask permission from ecology as well. So that's the size of it. I will express John Bodenhammer's apologies for getting ahead of getting the documentation and the permit, but I still think, from the standpoint of collaborating with them and recognizing that we are marketing the golf course as one of the venues that why we want people to come to DuPont, that it makes some sense to go ahead and try to help them with their project, and they have mitigated a safety issue. So with that, I'll take any questions you might have on that issue.